Alright, today I'm going to be installing these bumper inserts on my Cobra. And so I just bought these. They were a Ford officially licensed product. And they're just vinyl decals. And I've done some decal work before. I put a stripe back on my Mach 1 that was faded. And what I found best as the best way to put it on is to take some Windex and spray the area that you're going to be applying the decal. And then put the decal, spray the back side of the decal as well, and place it on there. And while it's wet, you'll be able to kind of move it around and put it right where you want it. And then there's going to be tons of bubbles, both from air and from the Windex. So then you're going to take squeegees, credit cards, whatever you have, and work them out. Now on this decal, it doesn't look like there's a top side. On the Mach 1 decal, there was a top side to the decal, so you could really rub all over it and get it the best you could to work out the bubbles. But on this one, it doesn't look like there's a back side, so you could potentially scratch up the decal pretty good if you're running a credit card or a squeegee on it. So probably going to just stick to my fingers on this, just kind of pushing the bubbles out. Something that'll help is push the bubbles from small sections to the sides. Never try to run the bubbles all the way through the whole entire decal, because it just causes more problems. It's easier just to work bubbles out to their quickest point of exit, I guess you'd say, just the fastest way to get the bubbles out. Before I started, I took my car duster, made sure I got everything off here, and I also took a microfiber towel and I worked out on the inside of all of this. With these bumper inserts, the letters, you'll get kind of road grime and stuff stuck in the corners and on the bottom parts. So you got to be really careful and get everything out. Work it really well with a wet rag. I used a little bit of Windex on this one, but basically you just want to make sure that the area is completely clean. Some people even use rubbing alcohol or something to completely get wax or whatever else that might be on there. So basically we're going to start off here and take the A. As you can see, it's just black A on a black piece of vinyl. And so I'm just going to get this area completely wet. And so, while it's wet, what that's going to be doing is kind of not letting the glue work on the sticker. So you want to be careful not to let the decal touch itself either. So you just very carefully want to line it up. And just kind of set it on there, okay? Now, you do have a little bit of time to line it up because, it's still wet. But you want to kind of line it up the best that you can. Just kind of let it sit there, and then you have to give it a chance to dry, because if you start trying to immediately fix it right now, it's not going to do much for you, because it's not going to be able to stick. So now that it's kind of drying a little bit, I'm just going to run my finger across it like this to try to get the bubbles out the best that I can. And this one's actually coming on pretty good. I don't really even see many bubbles on it. With bigger decals, you have more of a problem, like that Mach 1 hood stripe, because you have a huge area where a lot of air and everything can get stuck. But basically, you just want to gently work it with your finger, make sure that it's centered, because right now I can still move it up and down and side to side because it's wet. And this one's looking pretty good, so I think I'm just going to leave it right about there. And it didn't look like it even got any bubbles in it, just because it was a smaller decal, so I'm pretty good with that one. I'll just work my way around with the next ones. But like I said, the Windex works good just because it gives you a chance to move the decal around without, if you didn't do it, then you'd stick it on and it would be wrinkled, and then you've had it. So once again, just be careful not to let the decal touch itself. and don't stretch the decal either as you're taking it off. Yeah, see that? That's real nice to be able to just kind of slide it around while it's getting set up. That's looking pretty good right there. Okay. Now I'll go back to the A and just kind of look at it at an angle and see if there's anything, you know, it's still a little bit wet, but just want to make sure that there's no major bubbles and that you don't move it around too much. Another thing to know is, you know, you want to be careful how you're running your finger across it, because if you push too much pressure, you can stretch the decal. So you want to be gentle as you work the bubbles out. This looks like it's turning out pretty good. And so yeah, if you want to be a little overkill, you can spray the back side of each of these letters too, but this seems to be working. I mean, everything's lining up pretty good. Just want to look at your gaps as it's going along. Yeah, these are pretty flat, so I'm not really seeing many bubbles. Make sure everything's kind of straight. And if you can, you know, give the Windex a minute to run and kind of let the bubbles that are in that work their way out. And it's not really too possible, but just do what you can. You can also spray the back side of the decal itself and, you know, have a little less friction if you have to do a lot of rubbing. I said. No, they actually touched each other. Just be very gentle if you're tearing them apart. Take it slow, a little pressure. one. So watch the C. Likes to, the long arches like to stick to each other. Okay, there we go. Now that we're all in, I'm going to come back over here to the A and just kind of look at it at an angle and see if there's any bubbles. And be very gentle. And you know, sometimes it still might move around a little bit if it's still not completely dry. So, you know, careful how much pressure you do put on it, but you know, just do the best that you can. But I'm looking at everything and it's looking pretty good. Looking pretty straight. Just a tad down on that one. There we go. So like I said, you know, there's a couple bubbles in some of these, and so you just want to work them out the fastest route, you know, the fastest way to get them out. Kind of common sense, but you know, and then just make sure after you've pushed the bubble out that you've moved the decal back to its perfect position, because it might have moved a little. Okay, so it's pretty good now. It's dried out for another 10 minutes or so since I did that last video, and so it's starting to firm up. You can really start moving some bubbles out if you see them without it moving the whole decal. Or just go one by one, and it's like right there. I just got a couple of them out. You know, it takes some patience. You just gotta be good and just work everything, you know, from the middle out. Just make sure that there's no bubbles that you're gonna see later in the sunlight. If it helps, just kind of, you know, put it at an angle and look at it and get some light on it. But just be real patient and get it done the best that you can.